Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 410. Apologies about that on the mic. Yeah, welcome to Mindful Live 410. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is presently the 28th of June. Nearly finished, nearly into July. Java, the July-August vacation as some people call it now. Cost overruns contractors' favorite words. Yep. Alright, so once you are inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen out there on TikTok. That's how you hit the like button over there. Hit that like button. If you're viewing this on YouTube, yes, please feel welcome to let the like button feel your presence. Let the like button know that, hey, this is good stuff. Send out the notification to some more people. That's exactly the intention. If you are over there on TikTok, you can hit the like button over and over and over. There is no upper limit on that, so keep double tapping that screen. Get the finger workout going. Now, jumping into the story, at least this first story that I have interest in today. Now, really and truly, a lot of what I noticed over the last day was the US presidential election. We would get into that just now, but you know, sometimes if you lack perspective, you could think like Trinidad alone has it bad. Yeah, dream chaser. So it goes sometime, bro. So it go. But let's see the solution that has been brought to crime out in the Diego Martin district, and see if we could carry this throughout the country. Maybe this might be how we solve crime everywhere. Wait, where are you? Pole for peace erected in Diego Martin. Peace. May peace prevail on earth. In a show of hope for a better TNT, burgesses of Diego Martin came together yesterday to erect a peace pole in the new borough. A peace pole is an internationally recognized symbol of the hopes and dreams of the entire human family, standing vigil in silent prayer for peace on earth. Hi, host. Coming. Say good night. You're not telling people good night? Say good night, folks. Yes, you're seeing it too. Yeah. People, a peace pole. A symbol for peace. You know, I'm curious even in this. Like, who sponsored the poll? The manager of the project, Wayne Fullerton of the Diego Martin Rotary Club, the pole is not just an object that was erected and will be forgotten, but stands as a reminder of the peace the borough deserves. In his speech at the unveiling, Fullerton called for a moment of silence for the violence and conflict seen daily in this country. I will just ask everyone to join me in a 10-second moment of silence just for the violence, he said. Mayor Keela Glasgow Warner echoed his message, saying, as we plant this peace pole today, let us reflect on its message and commit ourselves to living in a way that promotes peace, understanding, and cooperation. At the ceremony, a time capsule was also buried. According to the club, it contains mementos and messages that reflect the spirit of Rotary, a spirit of service, friendship, and understanding that transcends borders and generations. There are more than 200,000 peace polls in 180 countries, including 2 more in Port of Spain and Chaguanas. So apparently Port of Spain already has a peace poll. And I don't think anyone informed the fellas in East Port of Spain. It seems that peace poll doesn't work on their ends. I wonder which contractor got the contract to install this. I want to start to offer my name as the contractor to install peace poles. Like, you all hire me, dig a hole through down what kind of pole, a metal pole or something, and cast it up. Perfect. Easy money. I think it's totally pointless. No, they can fresh out a party cards. I have never owned a party card. So wait, if I don't have a party card, I can't install a peace pole? But I want peace too. How they fixing the flooding in Port of Spain? What a name you have there. I don't know how they're fixing the flooding in Port of Spain. The flooding in Port of Spain has some technical issues with it. So I don't know how you fix it. I can understand how you'd mitigate it. Different ways you'd attempt to mitigate it. But as for fixing the flooding, that's a different thing. I'm not sure if you'd fix that. But mitigate, yes, you can. I think they can mitigate that. There'll be ways to do that. I believe one of the things they're doing would be installing storm drains across the highway. There will be pumps also. Dean can. I find I shouldn't need a party card for a contract though. Yeah, white leather. Diabolical. Cruel. What a name. Sagittarius says, yes, they can move Beetham, bring Citygate higher up. Move Beetham to where, Sagittarius? Move Beetham to where? How pray tell do you do such a thing? You're going, okay, first up, you're going to have to buy out everyone. You're going to buy out everyone's property. So you're going to give a cash influx to the community, which I guess may be favorable to some. Big up DJ RV, okay. New did it. New housing, okay. So you build. New York did it. I see. Bear in mind, New York is a city in a state, in a humongous country, where there aren't necessarily the same considerations like there are here. Which constituency are you going to move Beetham into? Which constituency are you moving? So you are going to take the Beetham residents from their community and split them up and redistribute them all over the country. And you think that's going to be an okay thing with the residents? They'll be comfortable with that. Like, you do understand that's not going to work out. Give them free housing. Again, if it's free housing, then are you putting them together? Because most people would have a lean to wanting to stay together. And I can assure you, the moment you tell a community, can you imagine telling Couva North or Couva South that you're going to move in a street of Beetham residents into their community, into free housing? Bro, like, let's be real. This is Trinidad and Tobago. No one is going to be okay with that. A couple Betham residents moving into free housing next to you while you're paying a mortgage. We had a live the other night where we were talking about some of those HDC loans and the HDC housing and how it goes, and it's not all perfect. Couva North and South not living in those conditions. What conditions? What you talking about, Betham? Betham conditions not fit for human. Have you ever been inside of Betham Gardens? Because if you're talking about a community that is not fit for humans, I wouldn't say that's Betham Gardens. Betham Gardens is not the best community ideally, but in terms of the houses and stuff, there are decent homes there and people living decent lives relatively. I'd say when it comes to communities that look less, how do you put it, fit for humans, C-lots might be a lot more hard on the eyes. Betham isn't that difficult. Clear some acres of deep in south and put them there. Like even hear the tone of that, how that sounds. So for one, if you in Trinidad and Tobago, if you want to clear some acres and put them somewhere, with the tone and tenor that you all are going with that, the only way that gets to happen without the country blowing up is the PNM has to do that. Because the moment the UNC, if the UNC is in power and the UNC says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to clear some land and take all Olye from Betham and put Olye somewhere, that Olye is going to sound like the N-word real quick. That Olye is going to be interpreted as the N-word real swift. Real swift. And so you're hoping that the PNM does it. And why would the PNM do that? Because let's look at it in terms of the voting dynamics. Betham could be considered a PNM voting bloc. By and large, you could consider Betham a PNM voting bloc. So, okay, would the PNM remove their voting bloc from one area that helps them retain a stronghold and distribute it throughout the country where it does not help them? Why would they do that? That's not sensible politics. So if they're going to do this wisely, they're going to put it in a place that benefits them. They're going to put the community into a location that is a kind of marginal seat. So where are some of those, like, is it Princestown, or some of those kinds of seat, Mayaro, a seat where it's borderline where they might win, and they put them there and hope that they send it over. And if they do that, what do you think the opposition is going to do? You see, the idea of just moving people sounds really beautiful and simple when you speak about it like that. But it's not exactly that straightforward. It's people you're dealing with. It could be difficult to relocate snakes. It could be difficult to relocate a puppy. It could be difficult to relocate a puppy, much less human beings and a whole community of human beings. Dalip Jairam says, guys say the exterior of the houses might not look good, but the interiors are sometimes very good. That's true. I've been into Betham. There are many homes in Betham that are very comfortable, middle class. Some homes in Betham may be considered upper middle class in terms of the amenities, etc., etc. They aren't that bad. They can put them in areas that they don't have high voter turnout. One of my MBA class, I was made to watch a video of an escaped North Korean. Which escaped North Korean was that? How long ago was that? Was that what's her name? Yeonmi Park, or Is that honey on me? Camera is giving some trouble over there on YouTube. Can we talk about the Trump-Biden presidential debate? All right. You all took in that debate? That's as they call him the leader of the free world. And he can't mumble a sentence out properly. And you know, the thing is, now I don't think she lied though running. I wouldn't doubt that her story had some embellishment, but I don't think she lied, to be honest. That's the leader of the free world. To be honest, many people knew this was Biden's state a long time now. And what's kind of insulting about it is that there were people in the media, etc., who have been lying about this for a long time now. Because it was clear. It was clear that the guy is falling apart for a long time. And people they release stories that behind the scenes, Biden was actually vigorous and rigorous, and he had interns scared because of his vigor. Like, give us an ease up. Give us an ease up. Nathan, do you believe Biden is a real human? Yeah, I believe he's a real human. Just an old one that is slowly fading. That is slowly fading, unfortunately. And in front of the whole world. Like, I find that to be a bit off-putting. Like, if that was my grandfather, I would be upset. I would be upset with someone. Some of it out of the two old men, Joe looked bad and the right was doctoring videos. Don't tell Dane can don't do that. Dane can don't do that. The right wasn't doctoring videos there, Dane can. I watched the whole debate live. That's how I didn't do the live last time. I watched the whole the right didn't have to doctor any videos. Are you coming up with the cheap fakes nonsense that the press secretary talked about? Cheap fakes, when the whole world could see that the man is stumbling and blundering about. Like, come on, Dane Khan, don't do that. The right wasn't faking those videos. And Tollis, exactly what Wendell said, I'd agree with. I could see why someone would choose Trump, but I don't think I'd call Trump a racist. Trump may be brash, abrasive, egotistical, definitely, narcissistic even. I wouldn't call him a racist. And no one called him a racist until he began running for president. That wasn't even close to what people considered him or his negative traits to be. He was ingratiated with the black community, in fact, so I won't consider him a racist. But yeah, Biden was feeling. And Dane Khan, I know that talking point also with the two old men. But it's not just the age. Because people could be old, but that doesn't mean that they are not functioning right. And it's clear that when you look at this, Donald Trump, you may not like him, but he's functioning. He is seeing what he wants to see, while the other guy is not. And like, he has a wife, he has a family. Somebody needs to, like, hey, Uncle Joe, let's go relax and retire and brew. Rowley old and he has been the best PM. I wouldn't say so. But Rowley is old. Yes, he is old. And Kamala is old too. And here's the thing. I understand the sentiment of, you want younger blood. The idea that these old people are constantly doing this and hogging the chance. Young people don't get a chance to go for. I agree. You want some younger blood. But I'm not necessarily of the view that the old is always bad. I'm not of that view, because I could understand why old people may sometimes be the better people for leadership positions, the obvious experience side. And sometimes people talk about the old people are going to be dead and they aren't going to be here to even face the realities that they have to take. But that's not the idea that old people govern with. The idea with putting old people to govern is that they are old grandparents and they are the most interested in seeing their legacy and their generations be best. Some background force keeping Biden in place. He is controllable. Well, I don't know which way to lean on that. I hear that. I hear that some background force, and it mightn't be all him, but I wonder if it is that they put him there as a puppet, as many politicians are. They put him there with the intention to be a puppet, and that they could control him because he's old and he won't be there for much longer and all of that and all of that. And then what would you know, he got into power and he enjoyed the taste of power, and now he doesn't want to leave. That's my theory. That they actually, now the powers that be, their party, kind of want him to leave, but he doesn't want to. And they can't really force him out. It's going to be difficult to force him out. And if you force him out too quickly, you'd end up with Kamala Harris, who they don't want either, because it's not like she's any more popular than he is. I'm back. Rowley looks great for 74. I will admit he does. The Biden get lost on stage this time. His wife had to help him down 2 stairs. Blessed night, Smithy. Woi, Hotep, what going on?
Yo, what's going on, man? I watched this debate. Man, last night. I rewatched it this morning. Look, oh shit, it about to rain, y'all. It raining. I watched the debate last night and I rewatched it this morning, for clarity. And then I watched a bunch of analysis of the debate now. And I'm like, this is like, Nathan, I really think people love to talk about the fact that, Trinidad politics, Caribbean politics, African politics is immature because we only like 60 years into this self-governance thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually flabbergasted at the fact that American politics is this immature. Like I'm flabbergasted that this is what's going on with American politics for you. Like, first to begin, I don't know why. No, I kind of understand the sensationalism in terms of the presidential debate and the presidential election. But that's not even the most important form of government within the American system. So the fact that people have now created and pedestalized this presidential thing is amazing to me. And this just shows American, like regular civics of America are just poor.
Yeah, a lot of this. Have you been live all week? No. I've been missing for most of the week, to be honest. A lot of this goes to just to show that sometimes when people talk about Trinidad, and one of the genre of comments I hate to hear is if this was America, that would, like, bro, you don't know that. It's not like their system runs so perfectly. And you look at what's going on now, that's kind of the outcome that happens because of the nature of your system, where it's so locked into the establishment on one side that they would do what Dr. Eric Williams spoke about, a crapo in a PNM jersey or a UNC jersey. They basically are doing that. They're putting a cadaver, they're putting a corpse, they're putting basically a half-dead man. And because he is in this party, you will vote for him. That's kind of a power play in a sense, showing how much power they have. And that's on the establishment side. And then, because the establishment are willing to go that far on that side, and as it was spit in your face so much on that side, there's obviously a reaction from the populist side where they would throw out the biggest bull for the China shop that they could find, someone that could go in and destroy everything as much as they can. And who it is and his personality and the tweaks and idiosyncrasies of how he speaks to people and all of that is irrelevant. They want him to go in there and cause damage to the establishment. So you end up with these kind of caricature of candidates here. A corpse and a guy who seems like he wants to destroy it all. I don't know when the VP debates are, if there will be any. Trump hasn't even announced his VP yet. And that's part of the problem that they have with Joe. They picked a VP that is also very unliked. So it's not like you could ask Joe to give up to his VP just like that. They're looking to give up and give it up to someone else. And one of the names that they keep calling is this Newsom guy, the California governor. But part of the problem with that is the most stable voting group demographic of the Democrat Party are black women. Most stable, most sure. Upward of 95, 97, 96, somewhere up there, black women. If you chose Kamala Harris because she's a black woman, and now it seems like it's her turn, you're going to bypass her. How is that going to go over on your most loyal supporters?
I mean, yeah, but I don't even think Kamala Harris is that liked among voting Democrat black women per se. Like, I would think that democratically leaning black women who would vote for that awful guy down there in California, and he's done better. He's just not, because I think Mr. Newsom and Miss Harris come from the same ilk. They are from the same state. You know what I'm saying? They came from the same ilk. So it's funny, but listen, we are watching two old men verbally spar while they're supposed to be at home throwing up their grandchildren or their great grandchildren, and doing a choo-choo train with a spoon and an airplane.
Here now, Hotep. Here's our reality, and this is a difference between public sector and private sector, and maybe there might be a consideration in how we choose people to lead us based on this. Trump, as it stands, is still a functioning business magnate in the private sector. He is still making business decisions involving hundreds of millions of dollars on a daily basis. And he has been doing that his entire life. For one, and this is part of the problem with professional politicians, for someone like Joe Biden, he has never worked in the private sector. So he has never put his skills up to see if it is worth it and people will pay him for it out there. He has never done that. All he has done is public service. How do you know he is still functioning? At least on one side, you could look at the effect of his business empire. And the naysayers team talk about bankruptcy, but those who understand business understand that businesses do bankruptcy as part of the business. So, there's a difference. I will say even though they are both old, I don't look at them the same in terms of that frail teenage. I don't think Trump's age is his biggest issue.
Neither me. I don't think so. I just think, the general consensus among our population is when, they are very disillusioned with the choices that they have, right? Because, it will become a sore point for any country and their government if they keep seeing the same rotation of the same old men coming over and over. But listen, this debate was a travesty in terms of just the politics of it. And the fact that Trump won is crazy with the type of either responses or rebuttals he had. And I mean, he raised a few key points, which is interesting.
But I think, and I was impressed. Honestly, I was impressed by Trump. And let me tell you why. Not that he said anything impressive as per se, but the ability for him to control himself. In 2020, I think a lot of the issues that Trump faced in the debate in 2020 that made it seem more confusing about who won or lost was he went in too hard. You can't go in too hard at someone who seems to be failing in their faculties. It's not going to make for good optics. So what he did this time, dress back, allow him to talk, and just stay calm. And his answers on things like January 6th. So this is good politics. To me, this is good politics. This isn't about whether it's truthful or honest or moral. I'm talking about the political side of it. They asked him about January 6th and people who are afraid about his how he's going to deal with the democracy and all of that. He said, what people, I don't think many voters are worried that would happen, one. And then he said, what many people are thinking about is they remember January 6th. And back on January 6th, we had no inflation. And back on January 6th, immigration, we had no illegal immigrants flooding our borders. And back on January 6th, we had more jobs and etc., happening to the fact that generally they had a better economy back in his presidency than with Joe Biden's presidency. So you redirect the tone of the narrative from a point that is basically indefensible. There's nearly nothing that Donald Trump could say about January 6th that will make people like him per se. So you redirect it to something that is more positive on your end. Tolis says, let's touch on those key points. The key point, I think, in the US right now, in their surveys, economics, of course, inflation, immigration, and the leadership. And they are worried about the leadership primarily, I think, because of Joe Biden's seeming lapses in cognitive ability. I love when he said, let's not behave like kids. I was like, what? Trump changed? Yeah, man.
And that's the thing. That's why I think Trump demolished Biden in this political debate. The key points that were touched on in terms of the economy, I think Biden stumbled like twice on that question. He looked like he was running on low energizer batteries. Trump. You know what's funny, because people talk about Trump lied in the political debate, and yes, to some degree he did. But in terms of talking about the economy, we can't lie. Biden say how Trump left the economy flat on his back. I was like, where? When? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, there's a game that they play. But the current U.S. administration quotes job numbers, but this is a game many politicians play all about the world. Just bear in mind, it's not unique to them. But they quote numbers from the pandemic when there was a lockdown and no one had a job because everyone was home, being paid to stay home. And then they removed the lockdown and everyone returned to work. And he has the best job growth numbers ever because everyone is returning to work after a lockdown. That's some real smart, clever play on statistics. But I mean, it's politics for you. And the idea, that was the tone I saw that narrative go out from a couple of minutes after the debate when the First Lady, the U.S. First Lady, came out and she said that he did well, and she sounded like a preschool teacher. Oh, he did so well, and he answered all of his questions, and he ate all of his veggies and his beans, and then she said, and what did Trump do? And the crowd replied, lie. And I was like, oh, well, that's the narrative that's going to go out there. So yes, maybe Biden slipped up a bit, but Trump was lying. And that's the narrative that's being pushed everywhere. Maybe Biden didn't do all that good, but Trump was lying. As if politicians ever do anything other than that. Or both of them were lying. They were both telling a series of lies. And the thing is, some of those, you might not even call them lies. They are opinions. An opinion isn't necessarily a lie. An opinion is an opinion. And regularly you see that happen. I hate to see when the media fact checks an opinion. If I say I think Joe Biden was the worst president ever, you can't fact check me wrong. That's an opinion. That's what I think. So that's one. But they were both lying. So to say the one is lying like if the other is telling the truth, it's just not so. I saw Joe Biden attempted to repeat the lie. He came into the presidential race with the very fine folks on both sides. And the irony is Snopes, the quite liberal, left-leaning fact-check website, just fact-checked that happened some like 6 years ago, and they just fact-checked it last week saying that actually that's wrong, Trump didn't say that. And he went into the debate with that lie again. A lie he has repeated over and over and over. So the lying isn't a strange thing for politicians, it's what they do. It's a regular occurrence when you're talking about the politicians out there.
Yeah, you see, at this point, it getting a little tiring with the whole Trump hate. Say, like, Biden and the Democrats can't keep leaning on the Trump hate. Like, the American population is just tired of that old trope at this point. It's been used for what? 10 years plus?
Mm-hmm.
Since what? Since Trump run for office the first time.
Yeah, it's worn out. It's clearly worn out. And it's worn out the world over. And you need the media to do it. So you need willing media to do that. And you might run out of willing media because they might not receive the same kind of payment they might have once done for just saying Trump is evil over and over and over. It doesn't work like that. Abu Friday said Biden played a huge immigration card last week. That will be a big factor. You know, I'm not even sure. Because here's the thing. Once in the United States, immigration remains a factor on the voters' mind, they would always choose Trump over Biden in the immigration factor. There's no way Biden could change the public's view to make it seem like he is more the anti-illegal immigration president. There's just no way that's going to happen. And even the move that he made, it's kind of strange. I saw many people, I mean, when it comes to politics, it's according to how people decide to take it and run with it. But some people were using it were trying to levy a criticism, saying that for the 4 years of his presidency, he was saying basically there's nothing that could be done about these problems. There's nothing that could be done. These are refugees, these are asylees, they are seeking asylum, they must be brought in. There's nothing we could do to stop that. And then a couple months before the election, he does an executive move where he says he solves it. So why didn't you do that all the time? It's hard to try to run on you being the pro-fixing immigration when that's the rep you have.
Yeah. I think, and I don't think Biden fluidly even rebutted some of Trump's points on the immigration thing.
He couldn't.
Oh no, he couldn't. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he would have won on that point anyway. I think Trump had more style and more political savvy in that area. Of course, he used a little bit of charged language, of course, in terms of, illegal immigrants coming and raping women. Fine. And it's happening. And not to say it's not happening, but he definitely used some charged language there. He definitely bring up the fact of in his presidency, the border was stronger than ever, and that's the truth. That's just the whole truth, nothing but the truth. The border has been the weakest underneath Biden, that's just the truth. He brought up the fact of that. I don't think Biden will ever win under that per se. I don't think Biden would win under the Russia thing either. Or the UN question either.
Or Israel. Biden is in an extremely difficult position when it comes to Israel. You see, Trump could afford to fully jump in on pro-Israel and unapologetically do so, jump in full pro-Israel, but then pull back in moments and try to paint an America first kind of something. And he would actually get the right-wing side who is okay with that, and even the neo national socialists, those guys, you know who those are? Even those guys who are typically right-wing and hate Israel with a passion, they aren't going to choose Biden because Biden is also pro-Israel too. So Biden has the difficulty of being both pro and anti-Israel. So for people who want a pro-Israel candidate, he isn't pro-Israel enough because he's tied to left-wing agitators who are the most vehement anti-Israel, anti-Zionist folks. So the pro-Israel people, it isn't working anymore. And there are many billionaire and millionaire Jews that were famous and well-known and prominent Democrats. Now, on the other side too, if you are anti-Israel, Joe Biden isn't anti-Israel enough. Because even last night he was boasting that he gave them everything they wanted except for the 2,000-pound bombs, and they were using 2,000-pound bombs anyway. So him not giving them 2,000-pound bombs didn't stop them from dropping 2,000-pound bombs. So that's irrelevant as a point, really and truly. And he boasted he helped them in every way that they asked. So if you are anti-Israel, he is pro-Israel. So he is in a unique position because of the party that he is in when it comes to that Israel position. And I don't see how he wins it. I don't see how he wins that with his party. It's just not really a way.
Trump was a little savvy in terms of the Ukraine-Russia thing, where he stated that if he was in office, Putin would have never invaded Ukraine. Now, I think Putin would have likely spoke with Trump in terms of working out some sort of deal. I don't think Putin have enough respect for Biden per se. I really don't think so. I think Putin have enough respect for Trump.
Bro, I heard that there was a story a couple of years ago that was released from a transcript where Putin called, there's a call between Putin and Trump. And Trump told Putin that if he moved on Ukraine, he would nuke the Kremlin. And Trump in the transcript said he doesn't think that Putin believed him, but there was a 20% where he wasn't sure. And listen, as somebody who is not an American, that's a crazy guy. But if you are an American, that's kind of the guy you want on your side. The guy that the whole world is like, he might be crazy, let's not transgress. That's kind of the guy you want.
I don't disagree. You know, I don't disagree. Listen, I think Trump's points on the UN and the Security Council, I think it was strong points. Biden had no rebuttal for that per se, because Biden is willing. Because even though Biden states that, you know, America is nothing without its allies, and that's a correct statement, he has no rebuttal for the fact that America is willing to pour into the UN and Europe without Europe having to give America necessarily anything. I think Trump's points on the fact that he stated that he got the UN and the Security Council and Europe to actually pour, what you say, 100 billion or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like something like that, some figures like that, 100 billion. And he did that for America. I think Biden couldn't really rebuttal that per se, because Biden not even that Kuta Kinte type of guy. You know what I'm saying? He's very leftist.
They are just different. They are just different views on global politics, and that's why, for me, as a non-American, and I have no interest in becoming an American citizen ever, really and truly. As a non-American, I would prefer Trump, because to me that's better for me as a non-American. His idea of a good America is America being in America, doing America's business, which is fine on my part. You do that. But the idea of the globalists, the idea of the Democrat side by and large, is that America is at the forefront, at the head of a global hegemony, the rule-based order that our Prime Minister came back here and was like, yes, we subscribe to the rule-based. That's basically like saying we are part of the American global empire. They are doing that global empire kind of nonsense. And like, if you wanted to do global empire, but your idea of global empire was a very weak, kind of slightly cultural influence, where really and truly you're aiming at trade for your benefit, well, that's one thing. But when your global empire is obviously on some level of supremacy in different aspects, people obviously aren't going to be too keen on that at all times. And it seems to me that one side is much more aimed at that. That's why they don't care for the others to pay their fair share in the UN, because they don't mind it being lopsided one way, because they aren't looking for even relationships throughout the world. No, we are the big guy and come join us here. I like the Billy Joel song, You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy, but I just may be the lunatic you're looking for. Trump is the reason Germany decided to rebuild their military, because he said they should pay the US for security. Exactly. You know, like some of those countries, and this annoys me sometimes, some of the real bleeding heart people would go and they watch the European countries and they compare budgets for military in those European countries, and look, they don't even spend any on their military. And look at the United States and all those gun crazy people over there, and look here. You know, the deal that is going on right now is that the US basically provides security for all of those countries. That's why many of those countries do not spend any money on their military, because the US military would do it. The US has military personnel all around the world. Yes, I know. Remember, Germany was banned from building their military. And Japan had a law that they weren't going to do it, but that changed too. Those things happen. But I prefer the more separate version. That's my preference. You're going to say something there?
Hi, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
So, I didn't get to watch the debate, so probably I get to see all the edits that, they say the right editing. That was wild. The only thing I saw, and I think it was the full thing, was we have people like fathers and uncles and sisters and brothers raping people too. I was like, what is wrong with Biden? When they was talking about illegal immigration, raping people, and it's like, okay, cool, yes, those things happen, and probably those things shouldn't happen, but like, if we have people coming from outside, do you not think that's more of an issue? Because you have people pouring into your borders with no documents of who they are. And a lot of Trinidadians love to talk about, Trump is a racist because he said that he wants to deport immigrants. And I was like, no, he wants to deport illegal immigrants. And I said, if Rowdy comes and says he wants to deport illegal Venezuelans, you all will be happy, right?
Very.
And they're like, well,
Chinese will celebrate in the streets.
Same thing. But Trinidadians are not Trinidadians, Caribbean people are the illegal immigrants. We are the Venice in America. We run in the people country, overstaying, marrying whoever we have to marry. And that's the case. So when you say, he want to deport people, I don't think, for me, immigration is a real serious issue, especially when you don't know who comes into your country. And it's not just America, I'm talking about worldwide. People like, why we need passports? Are you dumb? We mean why we need passports? Because we need to know who is who. Right? For me, immigration is a very strong point of an election. I don't want to vote for nobody who believe in free movement of people. Can you come talking this shit with free movement of people? I don't like it. I don't like it either. So, can you come and humble yourself?
You see, there are some people with a level of naivety when it comes to the willingness of strangers to cause harm to a different place. And it does happen. Like, Regularly I hear people quote this statistic, and then when you trace it down, it's a kind of made up false rubbish where they say that immigrants actually cause lower levels of crime in communities than citizens. Regularly you hear the left wing in the United States say that. Now that's foolish on the face, because if you enter a country illegally, your first act is a crime. So they are all criminals. How could they be doing crime at a lower rate? That's foolish on the face. And if they are undocumented, the idea is you are unable to trace what they do. So then to talk statistically about the number of crimes is ridiculous. Like, people have a right to be concerned about who enters their country. And it nearly is pointless for someone to go up for election for a country without thinking that the country should be a separate entity. That's what a country is. The reason Trinidad and Tobago is a country is because we aren't Barbados. We aren't the same as Venezuela. We aren't the same as Guyana. If you're saying that Trinidad and Tobago shouldn't be a separate entity, well, then why are you interested in leading Trinidad and Tobago? That's a kind of strange thing to me. Someone earlier on was talking about Trump and his promises, for example, the wall. And if you follow that, even that comment, what went on with that, according to the Border Patrol officers, is that they said they didn't want a wall. What they wanted was a fence to be able to see through the fence. And then as they were building it, when the parties switched for the election, it was halted. In fact, some was removed. So, like, tell me, why would you remove the fencing that was already up? And then what would you know, about 2.5 years into his presidency, Joe Biden started rebuilding the self-same fences that he criticized Trump for. The kids in cages remained in cages because they were in cages from before also. Ain't that a thing? Yeah, Hugo Boss was designing uniforms for the National Socialists back in the 1940s. I mean, Volkswagen was building vehicles for them too. Trump says whatever the population wants to hear. Not totally, but that's kind of what a populist is, just by the way, by definition. He doesn't say whatever the population wants to hear, but by and large, by definition, what a populist is someone who is popular with the mass of the population. So yes, they tend to tout the sayings, views, ideologies, cliches of the general population. That's what being a populist means. And to some extent, the idea of politics is for that. Like, people say that if somebody says a politician is a people pleaser, then isn't that the person you want? Don't you want them to go in there and their interest is in pleasing the people that like them? That's kind of the person you want in the role.
I thought that is what a representative democracy is built on. I thought that is what it is. But apparently people don't want that. Well, you know, it's fine with me. We can get back to
what do you mean? What do you mean by an opportunist? What do you mean by that? What do you mean he's an opportunist? What does that mean? An opportunist in what sense? And Trump says whatever the population wants to hear. Abu Friday is you could replace Trump with politician just by the way also. Which politician generally doesn't say what the population wants to hear? At least the population that they think they're talking to. But I wouldn't call him an opportunist though. I don't think that's in, like, you'd have to explain how he's an opportunist. In what way you see
business, money, because what power? Well, Biden is an opportunist too. Like, if you look at power,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean by opportunist in that sense, that he sees the opportunity, he sees an opportunity to gain power and he takes it. Well, then that's every politician. Like, I speak about that regularly on the note of politicians. Part of the problem with politicians is that in order for someone to be a politician, they kind of have to like power. So you're nearly always going to end up with a power-hungry person in politics. Because who is going to go into politics if they don't like power? You go in and let the whole country, and well, half the country insult you and say all manner of nasty things about you. If you don't like the power anyway. No, people aren't going to do that generally. People aren't doing that.
You have to like power in order to do things on a like country level anyway. You see, I don't know what people think this is. You know, sometimes like humans kind of get me. You know, like you all want a government, but at the same time you all don't want a government. So you all want the government have no power, but also still have the power to do things for you all. So it's like every day you're checking with the government. I say, yeah, we go give a little 20 to do something, and then you give out 20 now. That's how it does work. You know, it's either you want a representative democracy or you don't. And all the politicians had to have power, bro. That's how it goes. They had to like it, they had to love it.
That's the reality. That's the reality.
Exactly. What's the point of understanding that power is because people love to see powerful people as a negative, and not necessarily that. It's you don't want people to be tyrannical. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that,
correct.
An untyrannical person without power is
it's a good thing. It is a good thing because there's disorder and chaos in the world that benefits from some powerful organization being a stabilizing force. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing. The tyranny is the bad thing. Very, very, very accurate point you made there. And here's the George. I think, and this is where I think a lot of people misunderstand Trump, because if you weren't paying attention, like for me, it was because I was lost in internet culture. I was deep in the weeds in internet, so I saw the memers and the gamers and those guys saying this since the 2016, so you understood it. Many people couldn't understand how Trump won because they think like he's an opportunist. He's just saying what the people want to hear. But they don't understand that he is the response to what people saw as that in Obama. People saw Obama as the very pinnacle of what you're trying to call Trump there. That opportunist who is so well polished and comes and speaks so clearly with the charisma and tells you exactly the things you want to hear. Yes, we can do it. And then goes and blows some children up in the Middle East like everyone else. And then destroys the attempted racial harmony of the country. Then sneaks in what they consider heavily leftist policies into the country. So many people, a significant portion of people, were very upset with that well-polished guy who seems to say it so clearly and properly and with the right tone and with the right words and, the right manner and the right family and, he's upright and all of that. They got fed up of that because that was a lie. Is it any surprise that you go from the pinnacle of polished politicians in Barack Obama to the uncouth vagabond of politicians in Donald Trump? Doesn't that tell you something? The same nation voted for Obama, It's not like the nation went and dug up racists from the 1800s to come back to life and vote for Trump. No, many millions, in fact, of same people who voted for Obama actually voted for Trump.
You would think so now, but and people still don't understand how Trump winning, and it's like, take a look around at your country. It's huge. It's massive. It's not insular to your little spot there, and your state government. Take a look at your 340 million people that are there, right? Most of them don't vote, but still look at them there. They still engage in politics, whatever the thing is. They are not keen on the squeaky clean. We put makeup on him to fit the camera image. Listen, 8 years of Obama, and he was the beloved golden child of America because he was the first black president, although he is biracial. You know, after Obama left office,
And not even an FBA.
exactly, we saw the cracks, man. I saw the cracks, we saw the cracks, everybody saw the cracks, plenty black people saw the cracks. And it was there for the taking. You can't be mad at an unpolished man now fit what the people want. He's unpolished. That's fine. He's not a stalwart politician of 40 years, and he could talk with a public relations master degree. No, the man will sit down, put ketchup on a steak, and say, "Listen, we can get it together."
Listen, that ketchup on the steak, Trini Hotel, that is a prime example of it. Trump is a billionaire who grew up the son of a millionaire in New York. And this is how I think it's just that Trump understands many normal Americans more. He bought an expensive steak, got it well done, and put ketchup on it. The media had a frenzy. Oh my gosh. Like, Ronnie, look how grass. Oh my, And to the chunk of working class Americans who don't buy the best steaks, they buy what they get in the grocery, go home, char it on their pots, and slap ketchup on it. They sit down watching news, eating their ketchup, and say, no. And the news is like, look at Donald Trump ridiculously eating that ketchup on his steak. And they're like, what's wrong with ketchup on steak? Because they're eating it too. And you don't even understand that you're distancing yourself from the common folk. You're distancing. It's like in Trinidad, if a politician were to go and it would be so obvious in Trinidad, but if you see a politician go down by a sauce, probably not sauce. Another double stand. And you see them thing and eat it with their hand and you understand the intention of what they're trying to do. And if you see Dr. Rowley go down by a double stand and eat with his hand, well, he doesn't seem close to populace. The PNM is actually more the elitist side of the thing. If you see a Watson Duke go down by a double stand and eating doubles with his hand and talking to the fellas down there and thing, and Dr. Rowley goes in a news conference in a suit and tie the next day and says, that's so uncouth. Like, why would you be eating doubles with your hand and looking dirty at the side of the road there? Would that be a benefit or a disadvantage to him? In Trinidad's context, we know very clearly what that would be. And that's what Donald Trump was over there. That's what he is still doing over there. In Trinidad, we have the elites, we have the regulars, but in Trinidad, the elites still aren't as far separated. Imagine if Federation Park, Goodwood Park, Lady Chancellor Hill could have been entire districts in states. The Washington, D.C. is a district where all of those elites live with each other doing their weird elite things. And then they try to impart those things onto the rest of a 300 million people population. Yeah, you're going to get problems.
I just wanted to ask a question rather. The presidential election, right? Isn't that like on the lesser end of all the elections in America? Because, I mean, how much power does the president really have? You understand what I
Yeah, the initial intention. Good evening, Lyndon Mac. The U.S. debates, U.S. presidential debates. The initial intention for the U.S. president was not to be very powerful. His idea was the executive decisions, military. The everyday running of governing, was supposed to be for the House. Now, the reality is, power has a tendency to consolidate itself. So the power in the presidential rule has been, increasing in the United States by each term. now a lot of what US presidents do are by what they call executive orders. Now, a president in the US ruling by executive order is exactly what they created their system to avoid, because that's basically how kings ruled, by edict, by order, executive order, edict, basically, like how kings make a decree and thus saith the king, and that's that. The idea was that the rules for how the country governs, and it's how Trinidad is supposed to be also, are supposed to be made up and decided by people selected by the people in Congress and affirmed by the Council of Elders in the Senate. And then after all of that, the president, the trusted chief executive, he signs off. That's the idea. But now, and the idea of that also is that it is purposefully to slow down the power of the state. The US was founded with the idea of not trying to get all that power centralized in government. So it wanted to allow the state not to just be able to run roughshod over everything. There's a process. But now, because of that, those who think, and the left wing tends to think like this, because they are socialists, they believe the solutions for problems in society come from the state action. So you want to stop poverty? Well, it's the government to stop poverty. Housing? Well, the government has to build houses. The government has to find those solutions. Now, the problem with that, when you have a system where you have to go through Congress and then go through the Senate and then get it, it takes too long and people are suffering. So we have to get things done now. The president does it by executive order. And more, they're doing things more and more by executive order, which actually strips away the whole intention of how they are supposed to be run. It's not supposed to be all that power. The president isn't supposed to be able to declare war in the United States. But he does it unanimously, basically. He says when they're going to bomb a place, when they're not going to do it, who they're going to send weapons. That's supposed to be for the Congress. But they sent it away. Part of the problem too is party politics. Part of the problem is party politics. If you have one party that is in the Congress and then the person who is in the office is of the same party, you get some problems too.
I think that is a problem. To me, in terms of American politics, the president shouldn't even be of a party. It just shouldn't be like that. And we see how because literally the U.S. Constitution states Congress 1,000,001 times as the governing body that literally has the most power, supposed to. And this is why how I think is just the president should never be somebody of a political lean, because he has a level of influence, and the Congress has a level of influence, and that's not how you do checks and balances, because America is supposed to run on checks and balances where the three forms of government is supposed to check each other, right? They say the judicial branch is supposed to have the least amount of power in terms of checking the other branches, and it's supposed to be the Congress having the most power to check other branches. But if your president is Democratic and two-thirds of your Congress is Democratic, then what's going on? You understand what I'm saying? Like, literally, what's going on? So, and I think that's why executive orders have become a very mean thing, and the founding fathers never wanted it like this, because having one man having total power to them sound like tyranny.
That is what they ran from. They literally ran from King George and that one man having all the power business. So they attempted to make, and to be fair to them, they really did make a system where it seemed like on the theoretical side, they thought through a good bit to try and make a balance here. So the Democratic votes for the Congress and they run things. But there's a problem with democracy, especially full-on democracy. It's basically mob rule. So the Congress doesn't get to just make laws just like that. There's a Council of Elders, the Senate. And initially, the Senate wasn't voted for. They were selected by the state the state representatives selected men of worth and value and sent them up to the Senate. And I think that's actually a smarter idea. So these men aren't trying to get your votes. That's not their intention. That's not their job. That's not their role. The first guys are trying to get your votes. So that's where the government, the real business is done. Then you have the Council of Elders to make sure that nothing crazy comes out from them. Because that direct democracy and mob rule could develop some insane stuff. So the Senate is there to, no. That's too insane. Let's not let that happen. But then you have an executive head, the executive president, because the problem is the Congress and the Senate takes too long to make decisions. So if someone attacks you as a country, you have to make executive decisions. Someone has to negotiate with a foreign power. Someone has to make a decision in the moment. You need someone to make that executive decision in the now. So you have an executive president there to make those decisions. And then all of that is balanced by the judiciary, who is supposed to be able to determine whether it's all running above board according to the Constitution. That's a clever idea, but people are people and power consolidates. So the Congress, what happened to the Senate is it became a popular vote something, so it's no longer the Council of Elders. The Congress is just another form of, the Senate is just another form of the Congress to some extent. And then the Congress, a lot of them don't want to make the decisions, and they figured out how to do it otherwise. Allow executive decisions from a president, or you allow the courts to do it. And the courts have done that in the United States for the last 40 years or so. That was the argument with the Roe v. Wade, with the passing of gay marriage, with all of that. Those things didn't come through their Congress. Like, you would think something like, if your country allows gay marriage like it didn't before, you want something like that. How you do that is you ask the country, do they want that? And how you ask the country is you go to the Congress, and the people who are voted in by all the members of the country, well, they decide what we want to do. That's not what happened. They went to the courts, and the court said, we determine that this is a matter of fairness, and this must happen. And that's what they call legislating from the bench, where the court is attempting to write the law, and that's not the job of the courts.
I thought the job of the courts was to interpret law.
Mm-hmm.
And people are stunned about, because they also brought up in the presidential debate about abortion, obviously, and Roe v. Wade. People was like, oh my God, how can they overturn Roe v. Wade? Because the judiciary is not supposed to rule on those things. That's overstepping powers. It's people not understanding basic civics. Like, this is, sometimes, because this is funny, because you would think that leaving it up to the states, the localizing it would make more sense, right? Because people love to do this thing where, oh my God, women can't get this and that. Like, if women don't vote at all now, like women don't vote no more. Like, apparently women not voting for their legislators to actually ban abortion. Apparently women don't vote, because women don't vote. Only thing women are seen to vote for are very pro-liberal stuff. Women can't be conservative. Apparently they can't. So even though that state like Alabama has women in it, nobody would think in their two minds that women would actually vote to ban abortions.
Many women do.
So, exactly. So it's like people would think that leave it up to their states, would make sense, and not have the federal government overstep the state governments and bodies. This is insane. It's the same thing with every piece, probably, at least half of the things that the judiciary has passed with all the Congress could be overturned tomorrow.
Yep.
And to me, that's also a problem with the judiciary, in my opinion. It's still heavily favored with party politics.
Mm-hmm.
Presidents time and time again has stacked the courts in their favor. And Trump kind of feel at the sting of that in terms of his his federal cases and him being a felon now. He's feeling sting of understanding what it is to stack the courts and then have the courts go against political opponents, which he also handled a little bit of savvy, stating that if he could once I'm president again, could I go against my political opponents now? Which, in all fairness, he should be able to do. Because Biden went against his political
That's what the United States calls the countries like that banana republics, where each successive government, at stay in prison, the previous one, they call those banana republics. And well, look at that. Look at the United States. Ronnie, what's the question you had there? Ask away.
Like your last time, and man, now come on. I know you're talking about being like, well, I know a little easy words, but basically being beholden to your party, right? My question was about this UNC person, I can't remember, come to
Rai Ragbear.
Yeah, who basically voted against, well, voted for, you could see, well, but it was a whistleblower decision. I don't even know what the hell he was voting on. He agreed, or he voted with the government, right? And everybody kept making a big scene of like, how dare he go against his party and whatever. But my question is this, right? Is it not about policy? Like, if the man found the policy was good, why should he not vote for it? Just because it's PN and put forward the policy?
You see, you trying to make sense, Ronnie. That's your problem. You're trying to make sense. Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
Because this works everywhere, right? And well, you know, leave out the multi-party, the small minority, tiny percent of countries that are multi-party states. Leave them out of this. Let's talk about the majority of countries that are two-party for the most part. They would never allow such nonsense to run. You with your good logical mind, you with your because okay, Ronnie, if I enter politics for Princess Term and I found a good policy that would benefit all of Princess Term, and I'm part of the PNM, and the PNM say, what you doing? What you think you're doing? That's overstepping, sir. How dare you? You are supposed to be loyal to us. And I up inside and they say, we be loyal to you. I'm supposed to be loyal to the people. The people is the one who vote. You don't vote for me. They vote for me. But they say, but wait, but we imbued you with the power to even get votes. You see how that does work? And to me, it's like understanding that the man in Komoto could not have done what he wanted to, even though his constituents could have banged on his door and said that we believe in you, we want you there. No, he could come out tomorrow in his bathroom and say, listen, I want to do it for you, but here I say it. The man who in charge, he don't want me to do it.
Correct.
But more than that, like, they interviewed people from his constituents and everybody was like, he's a traitor and what you put it for and to me, I would have been happy about it because it showed that okay, you put country before party, which to me is a better way to think about it. I don't want opposition just for opposing sake. Like, think about it. Is this good policy?
But no, Ronnie. You see, for many people, the politics is a team sport. My team versus your team. And the only problem we have is if you betray my team. I remember I was speaking to a guy, and the UNC has this more obviously because of how they do their in-group bias based on culture, which is based around race also in Trinidad. So you see this much more obviously in the UNC. I remember I was talking to a guy a while back who was a UNC supporter from back in the day and speaking about team unity, and he was upset with Ramesh and Ralph and those guys. I don't know how many of you have your ancient TT politics trivia hat on. But that was in the first UNC when they were, well, not first, early in the UNC when Bas Diopande was the prime minister back then, and it had the whole bacchanal with the airport and the alleged corruption coming out of that. And some of the party members decided to take a stand, and they attempted to talk to the prime minister first and tell him about it, and they say he refused to do anything about it, so eventually they took it on themselves to leave and separate from this whole corrupt entity and all of that and all of that and all of that. Ralph Raj, was it Sudama? And Ramesh, and then they formed another party, Team Unity, the Rainbow. If y'all don't know those things, you need to go into some of the Trinidad political history. Good old Team Unity. And the guy was talking about that, and he was angry with Team Unity, and I was asking him, like, what are you angry about? You are saying that the men betrayed the party, but what the men did was they brought up corruption. They say it wasn't being dealt with, and they came to us, the people. Are you saying because your in-group is the UNC party, you would be okay with them staying quiet about theft? In fact, you would prefer that they stay quiet about theft so your in-group could stay there? He didn't say yes, but the answer is actually yes. That is how it is for many people. They see in-group as the biggest thing. And if you betray the in-group, that's it. You betray us. I don't care what you do it for, but what are you talking about? Country over party. Party is it. Party is all there is. And there are many people with that kind of view. And then also remember, as Hotep was saying, the nature of our political system is the party gives you power. The people don't give you power in our political system. Like, if it was that we had open primary elections like some places in the United States have, where anybody could choose to go up and put their name up for election for any party and allow the people to vote as they might. That's not what we do here in Trinidad. The party basically selects their team. And okay, they have an internal election, but the party is in charge of the running of the internal election. The people you see going up for election is who the party wants to have there. So, who would you be loyal to? The people who put you there. That's who you are loyal to, the people who put you there. And it's not the citizens of the country who put you there. So, you're loyal to the
party. This is where the citizens do. I want to say they're kind of foolish for it, right? We should be rewarding people who go against the leaders. For good reason, of course, right? So, you say, you bring up something about corruption within the party, I think that you should be rewarded by the citizens for that, because you are highlighting our problem. And if we do it like that, then people will just keep snitching on their leaders so that they could be the leader. And if you like power, you're going to make sure that you snitch on whoever, and you're going to make sure you ain't do stupidness for nobody to snitch on you. So, I don't know.
Here's the problem with that, Ronnie. You ever heard the statement, the quote, if you take a shot at the king, don't miss? You ever heard that?
I've never heard it, but I understand what it means.
And that's the problem. So, okay, you're saying we should incentivize that we reward people for making those statements. But bear in mind, the person at the top is the person with the most power. They actually have power, like Hotep was talking about there. The person at the top, people in politics have power. In order for it to be a political office, they have to actually have power. So they can make political, powerful moves. If you think you see something and want to say something, and in your saying so you are trying to move them, you think they are going to take it lying down? And what happens when they react and they deal with you? And bear in mind, when you're talking political deal with, the inner city murder happened in Trinidad and Tobago. JFK was the president of the most powerful country in the world. He was the most powerful man in the world, sitting in his protected limousine next to his wife. So, you're saying that I have to take that risk. But then I watch the guy before me take the risk, and I don't even know what happened to him. He committed self-harm by taking himself out by shooting himself 2 times in the back of his head. That kind of thing. Am I going to take a shot at the king after that?
Well, okay, fine. But anyway, I guess politics really is for a certain type of people, because no politician can never ever convince me that they are like for the people and they care, because if you're not willing to do it, and as you say, you know, it comes at a risk, right? Cool. So if you're willing to go in knowing that's the risk, then you're willing to cook books, and you're willing to lie, and you're willing to do all these things for your party, so therefore you're not a good person to start off with.
It's like automatically committing seppuku. It is. It's like It's like once you know you enter. I gotta ask a quick question after this, because it's like you know seppuku is the only way you going out, and there's no bypassing.
What is that pronunciation?
Seppuku?
Yeah. Is that like a brush?
No, it's Japanese. It's Japanese. Japanese. That's crazy. You get bridges? No, that's crazy.
No, and I know in gibberish, that is for like weird little.
Nah. That's Japanese for taking yourself out.
Yeah, that is Japanese for ceremonial samurai.
Yeah, when you stab yourself, what is called that seppuku?
No, it's not a stab. It's a running of your short blade from one side of your stomach to the next. So it's a ceremonial honor to go that way, actually.
Good for them.
So, yeah, exactly. Big up ancient Japan.
He's laughing at me in like 5 years time when Nathan blew up, and everybody come back to watch all these lives, and I'm like,
so it's like every time a new politician has entered a political party, he commits seppuku. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he forgoes literally everything that he come in for, and he just abide by the rules of the game.
Like in this example, Ronnie, he did that, but very likely what's going to happen now is he's going to be removed from any position of power in the party. So why would someone else do it? What would be their reward? And then inevitably what that causes is the only people that rise to the top of the party are the most loyal, those who know how to keep their head down till their turn reaches. And if the way you reached to the top was by keeping your head down till your turn reached, and you reach the top, you feel you're going and stand for any hurry little young upstart wanting to get ahead before their turn, you had to go through eating filth and kissing boots for 30 years. I have a few years of people needing to kiss my boots too.
But you see, this why. I don't want to say it now, but this why the reputation of PNM would kind of be better than the UN. Sorry to say it, because you had Rowley that opposed Manning, and Manning come and bash him away and whatever. And Rowley was still able to come back and be the ruler of the party, whereas I guess in UNC.
You don't have to feel sorry for that, and I regularly say that. I say it and I say it unapologetically. I say it regularly. If I haven't said it in a while, I'm saying it again. I think the problem, the stalemate in Trinidad politics is at the UNC, because PNM has shown that it isn't as safe a party as it seems. PNM's safeness is a reactive safeness. It has been shown that PNM could lose almost all of their safe seats except for the how much ever 2 or 3 or something like that. That's not the case for the UNC. And because the UNC is such a safe party with such a large, safe voting bloc, it makes it nearly impossible to move anything else in the Trinidad political landscape. Everything else is locked up because that political voting base will never move. So it's very difficult to do anything else. And that group of people will always have a significant amount of power because they are assured 300,000 votes every election without fail, regardless of what they do, regardless of what other options come on the landscape, they are getting those votes. That's why another reason why I was really upset with the COP, because the COP seemed like, at least in my lifetime and my looking at Trinidad politics, the only group that was even remotely close to doing something about that, and maybe causing that bloc to become a little more mobile. Allow more people to understand that, okay, I don't have to vote for UNC, otherwise the country is going to fall apart. A large group of people need to see that. And I know when the people who believe that if they don't vote for UNC, the country will fall apart hear this, they're going to say, but it have a set of people who believe the same thing about PNM, and yeah, but no. PNM's safe voters aren't exactly like that. If PDP come up, they will vote for PDP actually. Many PNM safe voters. It's not the same on the other side.
They would. They definitely would. I don't think the COP, the COP give up easily, but you gotta understand, man. I'm a party, I've risen through the ranks, I toil hard out there, for the yam. And I still ain't going nowhere because the two dominant parties will forever rule. So what best to do but join one?
I don't think so in a Trinidad. I think the COP had a chance to actually separate that, but they didn't have patience for it. And I understand why they might not have patience, because the COP wasn't formed as a third party with a third electorate. No. They were formed because Mr. Winston Dukaran wanted the leadership of the UNC, and it went to Kamla Prasad Bisesa instead, and he left. So it's not like he wanted a separate entity. It was formed from the UNC wanting more power. And because of that, it always had an ease for rejoining. Now, I think after 2 elections on their own, the momentum they were building, eventually they would have gotten there. But patience was lacking. They wanted it now. And the reality is, if you're a party that was created out of the UNC, you left the UNC to make this party. If you rejoin the UNC in a partnership, of course your party is going to reintegrate with the UNC and disappear. Duh. Like, what do you think was going to happen? If I take a cup of water out of a barrel, separate this cup of water, and then I take the cup of water and I put it back in the barrel to, work together again, can I get back that cup of water out? What are we talking about?
No, that's just it.
Can I say something then?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Because COP was in existence for probably 10 years, right? Well, if so long before they joined the People's Partner. It wasn't even 10 years actually. Was it? Was it even 5?
Yeah, it could have been 10 years because they contested an election or 2.
Right, cool. Right, good. And they had people, they did much better than what we see in Philip Alexander. Philip Alexander giving up. He looking like he wanted to, pull in under the anti-cams, but we'll see how that goes. But if COP stayed on their own and just kept doing what he was doing, they would have been able to be a strong third party right now. They may have been from the opposition right now.
I think so too.
But they wanted power too fast. That's my whole thing. They gave up easily because they just wanted power. And anybody, any third party that's telling me that, oh, well, they have to join up with UNC, is because you want power. That is all. You're literally only doing it to have power. And all of these third parties in existence currently, none of them, in my opinion, make sense. They don't have a seat to bring to the party, to UNC. And if I was UNC, I'd tell them go away. Because they ain't bringing nothing. Literally.
The UNC kind of telling them that, you know, if you come in as a activist group or something. It's not like you come in as a mover and shaker. Like you could make a see and make demands here because you bring nothing to the table. or red pill. You bring nothing to the table. So like what you're gonna come and bring. And I agree with you, the third parties, many of the third parties these days don't get much appeal. And I think COP actually hurt third parties in Trinidad and Tobago. They did damage to the third party in Trinidad and Tobago. People have to build up over time. For people to get a third party, they need to stay on the landscape and stay for some time. Now, I think the problem with the PDP, not the PDP, the PEP is leadership. And I think the approach of the leadership is extremely unwise if you're trying to get that third group of people to vote for you. The leadership attempts to use angst and bitterness against the political leader, against current political leadership to get support. Here's the problem with that. Nearly anybody who's bitter and hateful towards the current leadership, they're already loyal to a party. They're already voters. You aren't going to get a new voting bloc from people who hate PNM and Rowley with all of their life. If somebody hates PNM and Rowley with all their life, they're already a UNC activist. So if you are attempting to go with hate and bitterness against the politicians to attract people, it's not going to work. That's not how you're attracting people. Look at the COP and the kind of group they were and why they were attracting people. Because it had a flavor that they weren't that. It was a more professional class. Winston Dukeran was an economist. He was known to cross party lines in helping for the betterment of Trinidad in general. It was a party seen as a more young professional party with university educated people, and we aren't here just about the gutter politics here. We are here to talk about issues and different politics. That was a major point they were talking about, a different politics in Trinidad and Tobago. And the PEP literally does not come with a different politics. They come with the same politics, attempting to do it stronger than the other party. Good luck with that. You're not going to win. Now, the PDP, at least they had a little difference. It seemed like they were trying something different. The PDP is obviously attempting at populism. No, I don't think it's 100,000. I think it's a significant amount less than that. They're obviously attempting that populist kind of message. When the leader of the PDP could say something like, he's telling the current government that at least thief something and get the people self now, that is a populist kind of statement. He isn't appealing to law and order and your theories of governance and politics and philosophy and that. No. He's appealing to what's popular to the man on the street, the people around. Thief something and give yourself now, by oh gosh, boy, give the people something self now. And that's why I think PDP has a better opportunity than PEP. PDP could win more than PEP because at least they're in another lane. There are people who don't vote for PNM, who don't vote for UNC, that might take up on that message. You might get some of them fellas who line in wrong and them don't vote anyhow, but they're like, yeah, boy, oh gosh, boy, help out the men and the block and thing yourself now. You might get some. At least some. There is a constituent to appeal to there. But who is PEP appealing to? I could tell you. And I mean no offense by this. I'm just speaking as an observer. That's all I do. For me, when I look at PEP and lots of the people higher up in PEP, here's what I find generally. Former UNC activists of generally a more Afro persuasion. A lot of the PEP. You look at them and they were UNC activists. And they move over this side. That's not appealing. That's not appealing to someone. If I don't like the PNM, but I don't like the UNC either, grabbing a bunch of UNC activists to insult the PNM and tell me it's a third way of doing things does nothing for me. Woo! Abu, Sir Dana. Sir Abu Dana. You're going to go up for elections in Trinidad and Tobago on the announcement that you plan to wrap up all the corrupt leaders in the country on winning.
Crazy. And here we started to a nationalist.
Brother.
Hey, sir.
Brother. You know what? You don't even have to worry about we local people if you go on that level, because no doubt our corruption in Trinidad might have links to the those 3-letter guys up yonder. You know, those 3-letter institutions over and agencies over the pond now.
Man with mustache, you know. It's not giving man with mustache.
So you start to talk about you going to wrap up all the corruption in the country. I think they may deal with you beforehand. That you're not going to get very like if we start in that, we have to do that underground, and we going out talking a different talk, and it's only when you get into power you're looking to switch up. Real
man and mustache activities, because that's crazy. No. There I say. Having a nationalist party is not necessarily a man and mustache kind of move. There are many nationalist parties around the world that isn't fascist, basically, because that's what the Nazi party was, basically fascism. So the thing here is, I think the COP did kind of destroy third party-ism in Trinidad and Tobago, but to me, within a two-party system, and to go back to the American thing before I ask the question, it's like the Green Party is like the biggest third party in America, and still nobody votes for them and actually gives them some sort of at least some inch of power within the Congress. Some inch. They don't even have to make a presidential, point at that, right? They don't even get an inch. They don't even move a mile. So, and the Green Party been out long time, years, really years.
Yeah.
So would it still be good enough for Trinidad and Tobago to have a party 20 years establishing themselves as a third party force against, trying to get in somewhere within a government against two parties that has been dominating the landscape forever, with one party being the ruling party, which let me get out of the way. PNM is just the ruling party of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's be real. And the UNC is just the safe seat party that will never give a seat away. So I'm like, are we going to end up with a Green Party kind of thing in Trinidad and Tobago if we let me take Michaela Panley for instance, her party? I think she would get a lot of traction as somebody once she run on the right politics. But if she stayed there for 20 years and not given an inch to become a partnership with any other party within the country, is she going to get anywhere within some form of power? Or is she going to end up as a Green Party and just be there talking? And we still going to be within a two-party system?
Here's the thing. I think the US system, because of its nature, is more suited, well, I'm going to say suited, more trapped into the duopoly. A lot of what is the US system is created with the intention, as it were, of only being two parties. So it's nearly impossible for another party to make it. Now, however, our system is a little different. Our system allows for that possibility more easily. Because if you look at the home of our system in the United Kingdom, you see how that works. Those parliamentary systems it's much more easy. It's much easier for a third party to get a foot in, a toehold in over time. I think that's much more feasible in our system. I could see that being a reasonable possibility. Much more easily. Because winning one seat might not be impossible. Over time, you see, if, let's say there's that third, let's say the Michaela party, right? Michaela's party, Patriotic Front. I find Patriotic Front sounds like a mustache guy party too, the name itself. But anyway, let's say her party is there 20 years and she's contesting the same seat for parliament. And every time, every election, she's always there talking. There should be an ability to see. There would be an ability to see if she's gaining in that seat. And if she's gaining, you could get the feeling like it might be a matter of time. How come our politics not volatile as Britain, men comfortable in their seat in Trinidad? UNC. That's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. The UNC locks it in to two parties with safe seats, and we're fighting for maybe 6 seats in between us. But other than that, the chunk is just two sides safe. That's why they're so comfortable. And maybe it's because of the ethnic split of our country along that nearly 50-50 line, and it makes it locked into those two ethno groups, kinda. That might have part to do with it. So it's like in Tobago. Tobago, it's not as safe. Tobago, you could have the feeling like if Tobago had a parliamentary system with multiple parties, TOP would have a seat, PDP would have a seat, PNM would have a seat. If Ho-Choi Charles was there, his party might have a seat. You have a feeling like that kind of thing could happen in Tobago more easily. We need a Douglas party. If only. Alright, people. It's midnight.
But to ask the question.
Ask the question.
Rooney bring up something there earlier. You can answer the question as well later. Would y'all actually go for a governmental structure of independent representatives within a government? No party per se.
I would love it. But I think, as I said at the beginning, I think naturally power consolidates. That's like the nature of power, it consolidates. So, alright, they wouldn't be in a party, they would be independent. But then they would make alliances with each other. And then those alliances would cross election lines, and eventually they would start acting like a party. So I would prefer that. I think that would be better. But I don't think it necessarily would solve it in the long run. But I do think that would be better. If there was some way, like for example, I don't think an MP should be someone not living in the constituency. I think that should be obvious. You shouldn't be a member of parliament for my constituency where I live if you don't live here. That should be obvious. And there needs to be attempts done to make it that MPs are beholden to the constituents more. That's whatever we're doing, that's what you're trying to do. So okay, you have to be a resident of the constituency at least. So at least you're familiar with the things. At least what happens in the constituency affects you. I don't mind if you do, like, okay, you can. I'm not sure if you could make it that they can't join a party. I'm not sure you could do that. I'm not, and as I was saying, I'm not sure how that would work in the long run. But maybe what you could do simply is not allow party symbols and signs to be on the ballots. It's only a name. So you best know the name of the person you're voting for, because there's no party sign to tell you who you're voting for here.
No way. I think the election needs to change. I think that the election should be done on, it should be like a quiz type. It should be
No, you
like,
can't involve people's civic knowledge.
how do you feel about taxes? Yes, no, strongly agree, disagree. And then how do you feel about, I have no idea what else. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And then when it's done, they run a trap feeder and they'll be like, okay, great. Your vote goes here because that's the party. Your views are
Nah.
so
No.
your views are aligned with. So great.
No.
That's really better.
No. Who deciding who my vote align with? That sounds like a recipe for Bacchanal.
AI.
And who programming the AI?
We'll get some man from Switzerland to do that.
And men from Switzerland can get bribes, but listen. And you know,
very, very much out of people's business.
Abu Friday, the problem with the mustache man vibe for 10 years and fix the place and then turn back is who we going to choose as the mustache man. And it's the eternal problem that we saw in that beautiful novel turned into a wonderful trilogy, Lord of the Rings. So yes, you could use the power ring to, craft the world into this beautiful place. But once you have acquired all of that power in order to craft the world, in order to do the good thing, would you give up the power? Like, that's the concern people talk about looking at El Salvador now. Like, great, Bukele is doing a good job. The homicides are down, the murders are down. That's wonderful. But the real test for that is when it's time for him to go. Would he go? When someone else thinks that, well, maybe I want to try leadership, would he be okay with them thinking so? That's the problem with the momentary mustache man.
We have democracy. Look, listen, that's why we have democracy. That's why I believe in term limits. Because when we get into the whole, we give a man power, and he has the power, and he does good for his country, and now he say, well, best I stay here. Now we get into the dictatorship. I want to say that's why we do democracy. Let's be real. We do democracy for this reason as well. We do democracy to make sure one person doesn't have totalitarian kind of powers going on. So and that's why this presidential debate, I just feel more in my stance of having term limits for all politicians. This should never be an infinite career field for you. The same way how there's term limits for the presidency of America of 2 terms, 4 years. You ain't getting no way close to that kind of place again. I believe in that. Let me say 10 years plus for House of Representative members. Maybe I want to stretch it a little longer for the Council of Elders or whatever you want to call it, the Senate. But yeah, I don't believe that Rowley should be a man that have 3 heart surgeries. He about to be a Rockefeller out there, and you still talking about, I will never leave politics, I will never leave. And you've been our prime minister for 3-4 times and still doing the same thing. No, that creates a population that is disillusioned with governance in general. And you never want a population to become disillusioned with governance, because then the dissidents within your society is going to call for anarchy, and nobody was anarchy.
Nope.
That's great.
People think they do, but they don't.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
many of the people calling for revolution and all of that stuff, if revolution hits, you're not the one who's going to be okay. Many of the people thinking that they'd be okay in a revolution will be the first to be suffering. That's not nice. You don't want to be in a place that's going through anarchy and revolution. Not fun stuff. I don't mind the term limits. The thing with term limits is you could get the feeling like there are fewer good politicians than there are bad politicians, right? And you could get the feeling like, oh, if you find a good politician, why should he be limited to ending at 5 years or something like that? You could get that kind of idea with the term limit stuff. And the nature of a lot of the bad things in politics is it's not personal. So the reason some politicians are bad, it's not because of their personality, but because they might be linked up to a specific lobby group. Now, the thing with a term limit is it doesn't avoid that, because the lobby group would just line up who is coming next. They may have the other candidates for the next 50 years all lined up and looking for them and treating them well as they come into the role. So the problem isn't necessarily the politicians in the individuals themselves, but the ability of lobbyists to get to them. And I'm not sure term limits would stop that really and truly.
Lobbying even become a thing in politics. This is
well, lobbying is very normal when you think about it. It's one of those things. It's like how power consolidates. It's power consolidating in what is regular, normal political lobbying. All of us are supposed to be able to lobby our politicians. So, okay, we know they're going to vote for X issue in Parliament. I'm supposed to be able to go to my member of Parliament and lobby him to get him to do something that is to my benefit. That's his job. We are supposed to lobby him. Now, if I'm a working guy, I'm busy. I can't go to the politician's office all the time. So I hire someone to go and raise my issues on behalf of me to the politician. And most likely it's a lawyer, someone who understands the legal framework. And their job is to lobby the politician on my behalf. So they're a lobbyist. And I pay them for it. Now, okay, fine. That's cool on the small guy side, but if the small guy could lobby the politician, why can't the big guy do it too? And okay, while you as a small man trying to get the politician to put up a stop sign, put some speed humps, pave the road, clean a box lane, build a box lane or something like that, I'm a businessman. I'm trying to get you to give me a concession for my business. So I'll pay a lobbyist to go talk to you and attempt to influence you to give me my concession. Lobbying is the nature of politics. That's how you find out what your constituents want. The problem is when money gets involved, things get dicey. So if you're just lobbying and asking the politician to do something and they have to think it through and decide it, that's how it's supposed to work. But if now I come and I tell you, well, MP George, I'm going to call no name, MP XYZ, I see they're voting for so and so and so and so, yeah, boy. You know, my company would really benefit if it were to go in this direction, eh? But, you know, I can't tell you what to do. I will see you at the next fundraiser, though. We're having a fundraiser next 2 weeks. You coming? You understand? So, how to lobby to get a contract? Okay. Building. And my son opened up a contracting firm. I trying to get him a nice startup. I know Minister XYZ, who is the line minister for the building, that building. I go and I invite all the ministers to a fundraiser. I'm having, you know, build some, make some money, donate it to the cause. So, you know, I believe in these political causes. And while they're there at the fundraiser, I hold the minister and I'm talking to him. I'm saying, you know, my little Johnny there, he recently opened up a thing, and, you know, we're really looking, he's looking to put in a bid on, what's this project going? Yes, he's looking to put in a bid. And, you know, I'd really like some consideration and all of that. But you know it is. And we're looking to have this fundraiser once every 6 months, you know. Yes. Once we see that this party is really interested in the furtherance of the young entrepreneurs in Trinidad. You are interested in the furtherance of the young entrepreneurs in Trinidad, MP. I'm glad I could have your assurance on that. I'm glad. He would look out what his company is. Look out for the bid. Lobby and get a contract. Lobbying is politics, but it's the money in it that makes it get the way it's not supposed to be, I guess. You have a contracting company you're looking for a contract for? Now, how to do it as a poor man? A poor man, well, see if you could find out when they're taking tenders for the contract. If you could find it out, if you have a friend or something, and send in your tender for the contract and hope for the best.
But it's no lobbying in that. The jail is the process.
Exactly. That's the process.
Oh, wow. Poor contractors.
As a small contractor, it might be more lucrative instead of trying to go that way. Find somebody who is a friend of the minister, and you link up with him and take some subcontracts from him. That's how you do that lobby.
Okay, well.
Abu, don't say how.
Oh, wow.
If you it's according to what community you're in, though. If you're in a community that might be a hotspot, and they send a contractor in, you could send some boys over to the contractor and let him know that nothing is building in this community till the contract run to locals. And I mean, that might be a certain form of lobbying, I guess.
Not for me, I could.
And that kind of lobbying does happen. I can assure you. That kind of lobbying, ooh, Trinidad knows that level of lobbying. Anyway, people, it's after midnight. Let me go in my bed. That's all I have for now, folks. As Trini Hotep always says, you there, bro?
I feel like he fall asleep. Oh, he up.
Nah. No, I still said, be mindful, not mindless. We're here. We're making great strides for the American people. But we just have to get this corpse out of office. So let's make America great again. For the Black American community. Hey, yo, this might be funny, though. I ain't gonna lie, this might be funny, bro. Hey, make up this, man. I want to see how this.
Chauncey, I didn't really hear what he said in that last. I didn't really understand what he said in that last bit there, and I don't think he understood either.
you know, he hand movements too. The hand movements now, but I didn't really hear, what he said in that last statement.
Oh gosh,
But
politics.
Big things.
Politics not supposed to be so fun. Huge, billions and billions. Yeah, Ronnie. Anything to say there, girl, before we dive out?
No. Be inside, stay inside. That's not mad people outside.
Oh, you see how you come over to the right side, Ronnie? I like it. Yeah, people, I hope you are educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. I'll see you guys again Monday. We aren't on that Saturday Night Live anymore. We're back on Monday. I'll see you then, people. Peace out. Hold it on.